so what we'll do is we need to start out with looking at the human head here. Okay, so we'll just look at a 3/4 view of the human head here. So for this, for all these lessons, I'm going to use a ballpoint pen here. Okay, but you can use any media that you want, really. Okay, so here I'm just going to lightly sketch this out. Okay, just like the basic design here for the human head here, and I'll just give him like a slight neck over here for a second. Okay, so one of the things is, okay, so let's say if you're sketching this out, right, you sketch out the basic form for the human head. There has to be some kind of a very simple system that we could use to put the features of the face onto paper pretty rapidly and be successful each time, right? So let's say if we drew the center line here for the eyes, we know that the eyes are going to go here, right? So I mean, what is the next step? Should we start to draw the eyes, or where should we really start with? So for this is like the most easiest way to do this, right? And when you try this out, you're going to see that it makes a big difference. Is since we know that the brow line is above this, right? Now don't worry about the formulas as to where exactly it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be up here? Or we know it's going to be around here, right? And you can adjust this depending on what kind of character that you're creating. You'll be very creative. We just need to get here. We're just studying a set of formulas, and then we'll look at how does this work in real world. Okay, so one of the things is that if you draw the brow line, let's say just like this above over here, right? And we know that where the eye socket for the skeleton, the skull, where the eye socket meets, it was a break over here, then you get that line here, right? And then you get those muscles here. Okay, so one of the things is that when you draw the brow line, right, you can pretty much distinguish that if it's going to end over here, right, that mark over here, you can just draw a line signifying that you've already found the fat area where the eye is going to be sitting, right? So if you go from here, draw it like this. Let's just put like the center line for a second here, right? Since we now know the fat system over here, we can all do the same thing over here on the other side. We know that the fat system is going to be here, and then it's going to obviously bulge out on the other side over there, right? So here, if the fat system is here, this means that where this is, right, it's going to go like this. This line signifies that this is the line that you get on the human face where you see this, where that nose area is. Okay? So this means that over here, up above this is going to be a bulge out area that's going to go like this. Okay? This is pretty significant as to what I'm showing you here, right? It's all these lines on the human face play a major role, and all we're doing is simplifying our helping the mind get these ideas across pretty fast. So this line here, this means it's going to be dark in here. I'm going to show you why that is in a second. Right, so we know that the nose is just going to protrude out over here. Okay, so one of the things is that when you put the fat system over here and this line over here, right, you know, this automatically tells you that up above this, right, here, right from here is where you're going to get the eyebrows, and the eyebrows are going to go like this, and they're going to go around the fat system, like we had looked at in the structure of man, right? So here I'm just going to lightly just put, I'm not going to like put the whole eyebrow down over here, but here this tells you, okay, so if the eyebrow is here, this means that we could literally put the other guy over here, right? Okay, so if the eyebrows are here, we also know that when we did the muscles, right, we went over this muscle area over here, so we know that it's going to at least come up above over here, right? So you can make like a line here signifying that there is a bulge over here on top, meaning that over here where the eyebrow is, you know that it's going to bulge out at least over here, right? And then it's going to give you the forehead. Okay, so this is something that when you look at drawings from other artists, you're going to see that they all do the same thing, because it's just a universal understanding as to how the system on the face works. Okay, so when we look at this in drawing it a little faster, you'll understand as to how this is going to make a big difference in putting our ideas down. Okay, so one of the things is that, okay, so when you have this, and you can like put a line over here, right, and just that bulge area over here. So we know that that line was over here, so this means that where you put that fast system, right, you'll get maybe like some wrinkles on some people. So it comes around over here, right, then it goes over here. Okay, so this means that if we had drawn some arrows, which we're going to do later in this, after we go through this, we know that this thing over here is it's going to hit over here, right? If we drew a line here, it's going to hit, then it's going to go on an angle, because we have to compensate for that bone going from the cheek all the way to the ear, right? So this means that when, let's say when we're sketching this out, where should we draw that line for the cheekbone? Okay, so automatically this tells you, okay, well, if that cheekbone is here and we have to compensate for this guy coming in like this, we know that we at least have to look at it from a 3D, the idea of it being a 3D form, right? So if we had shaded this, so meaning that you can draw a line over here, and this would automatically give the human head a 3D form. Right, so if I drew this line over here, it wouldn't make sense, right? So just by drawing it here, I'm specifying that I get it, that the cheekbone is going over here because it has a mass to it. Okay, so on the other side, it's going to be the same thing, but it's just going to go like this. Okay. So when we were looking at the structure of the human face, where we were coming up with those formulas, right, we said, okay, well, if you want to get the nose, all you have to do is divide this in half, divide up, divide down, right, which is the same exact thing, but you don't have to do this, right, because the reason for this is once you draw this line, right, you can it's going to be right in the center. So this means, like, if I drew a line over here in the center, okay, a little bit, this tells you that the ending of the nose is going to be over here. Right, so here we could now jot down the nose over here, and we'll draw this out in a little bit because there's some very simple understanding as to how you put the nose down pretty quick. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a second. So once you have this fat system over here, right, so you know that the eyelid for the left eye over here is going to go all the way from here. Right, and obviously it's going to go inside over here, and it's going to come out. Just keep this in mind, that you can fit 5 eyes, right? One, then one in the middle, then 2, then a third one. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one over here. Meaning it's going to give you that the width for the skull. So if you put this line here, is specifying that, okay, I understand that. Over here is the top eyelid, right? And we already went through the design of the eye as to what Michelangelo was saying as to what he had found, right? Because as to how the skull curves on this end, we know that this is going to be much more larger, right? So if the eye, so this means that this bottom eye is just going to go like this. It's going to be much more wider over here. But this also tells you that, okay, don't forget about that line over here that goes under here. Right under this eyelid, and we understood from this has to do, right, you could put a little slight second line if you wanted to, it don't matter, but have a pretty good decent space here. And this is, so these things that I'm pointing out to you are something you're going to notice on the human face if you keep drawing it over and over and over and really studying it. So here I'm giving you all the information in one shot here, right? So this over